Chapter 260. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng and pressed his forehead against hers intimately, whispering into her ear, "Gu Mengmeng, I love you. Gu Mengmeng, I love you. Gu Mengmeng, I love you." Gu Mengmeng smiled in response to Elvis's gentleness, whispering into his ear, "Hubby, I love you too." At that moment, Elvis felt that there was only warmth and happiness left in his life. The bloody, cold and darkness in the past were just a nightmare, and Gu Mengmeng was the hand that woke him up gently. Her gentleness was what he had been yearning for his entire life. Elvis kissed Gu Mengmeng's lips, gently caressing her lips and tasting the fragrance in her mouth. His slightly rough fingers brushed past the wolf on Gu Mengmeng's collarbone, giving off a strange feeling that could not be described. Elvis laid on his back, placing Gu Mengmeng on his abs, his large hand holding onto Gu Mengmeng's slender waist. Gu Mengmeng sat on Elvis's stomach. Although she had only experienced mating once in her life, it was very magical. Just by looking into Elvis's eyes, she could clearly understand what he wanted to do. Gu Mengmeng bashfully hammered Elvis's chest, whispering, "Leah is still outside." Elvis held onto her little fist, pulling her into his arms gently, kissing her little face, then whispering into her ear, "It's all right, he was there the previous time too." Gu Mengmeng's face flushed red instantly. The previous time she screamed as miserably as a pig being slaughtered. It would be fine if only Elvis heard it, but why did even Leah? She really could not tell. Leah looked so dignified. How could he have the fetish of eavesdropping? Gu Mengmeng hammered Elvis's chest. "Then why didn't you remind me the previous time?" Elvis sucked on Gu Mengmeng's little earlobe and his voice had already become a little hoarse. It was obvious that he had already entered the zone. He did not answer Gu Mengmeng's question and just used his warm words to brush against Gu Mengmeng's earlobe, using his unique tenderness to say, "Gu Mengmeng, I love you." Gu Mengmeng's ears were very ticklish, especially when Elvis's big hands were getting more and more restless. One hand was pinching her waist to prevent her from running around, while the other hand was exploring her spine, as if he was lighting a line of fire on Gu Mengmeng's back. It was scorching and numb, causing her to twist her body uncontrollably. It seemed like she was struggling, but more like she was teasing him. "Last time, I was afraid that you would get hurt, so I didn't dare to use my full strength. It's been hard to hold it in these few days. Xiao Meng, don't reject me, okay?" Gu Mengmeng sneaked a peek at Elvis's size. The pain from the previous time instantly awakened in her memory and exploded. She did not know if it was a psychological effect, but Gu Mengmeng could even faintly feel the pain from that time. Blushing, Gu Mengmeng said softly, "You also know that our sizes don't match." The previous time. I'm still hurting now. Elvis saw the redness on Gu Mengmeng's little face and his originally blurry eyes were covered with a thick layer of crimson. His blue eyes became as deep as the ocean and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He was like a god of war who had descended from the heavens and was tainted by the flames of the mortal world, giving off a different kind of allure. Elvis pulled Gu Mengmeng's little hand and kissed it, coaxing her, "I was inexperienced the previous time and hurt you. This time, I'll be gentler." Gu Mengmeng wanted to cry but no tears came out. What's the use of being gentler? You have to make that thing smaller. Aside from the topic, yeah, the password is in the author's words in the next section and the link is in the group announcement. QQ Group, 4927799273. The rule of entering the group is to try not to send me private messages, because if everyone keeps sending me private messages, I won't have time to write. Chapter 261. Elvis flipped over and pinned Gu Mengmeng under him. He kissed her from the side of her face to her neck. Elvis's words landed on Gu Mengmeng's skin along with his warm breath. It was as if every word was a scorching sensation, making one's heart flutter. "All right, then let's become smaller." Gu Mengmeng hammered Elvis's shoulder and said, "Who are you trying to fool?" But Elvis just smiled and planted a deep kiss on Gu Mengmeng's eyes, saying, "Don't look at anything other than me." Gu Mengmeng's heart melted from Elvis's words. She wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck and said with a trembling voice, "I don't want to look either, but I'm scared." Elvis looked at Gu Mengmeng's pitiful look and knew that she was really scared. But seeing how scared Gu Mengmeng was, he could not bear to force her. So Elvis, who had decided not to have sex today, kissed Gu Mengmeng's lips and comforted her. "Don't be scared, I won't hurt you." Gu Mengmeng whimpered. Although she was scared, she still decided to trust Elvis. After all, they had already become partners. They could not possibly not be fish for the rest of their lives, right? She had to get used to this kind of thing. Elvis rubbed Gu Mengmeng's thigh gently, helping her to soothe her emotions and relax her muscles. The gentle kneading made Gu Mengmeng's emotions slightly more relaxed. She stretched out her limbs lazily like a cat, allowing Elvis to do whatever he wanted. Elvis's slender and powerful legs hooked onto Gu Mengmeng's calf lightly, entangling their legs together. The back of his hand followed Gu Mengmeng's waistline down to the back of Gu Mengmeng's waist, pulling her into his arms. Intimately smelling her unique fragrance, an indescribable feeling of peace spread throughout Elvis's entire body. He could feel that this little person was really existing in his arms. Her beauty and everything about her were not his imagination. This was enough to make him feel happy. Elvis looked at Gu Mengmeng, who was tipsy and had a dazed gaze. He really wanted to see her crying and begging for mercy again. Their stomachs overlapped and Elvis's scorching heat warmed Gu Mengmeng's slightly cold abdomen. Waves of warmth spread into her body from her navel. Gu Mengmeng moaned in comfort and stretched out her arms to hug Elvis's neck. What happened next came naturally. Some words were omitted here. After Gu Mengmeng fell asleep in Elvis's arms, Elvis kissed her forehead that was stuck to her hair and said gently, "Next time, don't torture me like this, understand?" Gu Mengmeng was extremely tired and did not really listen to what Elvis was saying. She just moaned and fell into a deep sleep. Elvis pulled over a piece of beast skin and covered both of them. Under the beast skin, their fingers were intertwined. One was sleeping peacefully while the other was engrossed in watching. It was as if time had stopped here and had no effect on them. Suddenly, Elvis furrowed his brows and looked towards the entrance of the cave. Not long after, Leah walked in with his brows furrowed. He was afraid of disturbing Gu Mengmeng, so he did not make a sound. He just pointed outside with his chin, signaling Elvis to come out and talk. Elvis nodded and carefully covered Gu Mengmeng with the beast skin to ensure that no cold wind could enter. He then added 2 more firewood into the fire before following Leah out of the cave. They had not walked far when Elvis felt that the temperature in the cave was not right. The snow seal at the entrance of the cave had been opened by someone. Digression, password, FVPA readers. For 927792773 no password was needed to enter the group as the password was used to retrieve the files. Chapter 262. With this knowledge, Elvis immediately raised his guard. On the other hand, Leah patted his shoulder lightly, signaling him not to be nervous. Elvis had absolute trust in Leah. Leah knew that Gu Mengmeng was in the cave, and if it was really dangerous, he would definitely not be so calm. Thinking about this, Elvis relaxed a little but still maintained a vigilant attitude. He followed Leah to the outermost room of the cave. Bird's tribe? Elvis looked suspiciously at the man standing outside the entrance of the cave. There was a sickly look in his delicate features and he looked weak and listless. But his posture against the wind and snow was much more docile than the average person. His skills were not as weak as he looked. Elvis noticed that there were 2 feathers in the hair above his ears. That was the unique characteristic of the bird's tribe and the beast's tribe. But the bird's tribe had always prided themselves as the rulers of the sky and rarely had any dealings with the beast's tribe. That was why Nina could run amok in Saint Nazaire for so many years with just Quentin. But now, this person from the bird's tribe had come to them on his own accord? Could it be? Elvis cast his gaze at Leah, asking him if he knew anything. Leah gave Elvis a look, signaling him not to worry. This bird tribe's motive for coming here was different from the people in Sauter. Elvis then relaxed slightly. He took a step forward and stood at the edge of the cave entrance. "I'm the leader of Saint Nazaire, Elvis. What business do you have in my territory?" That man sized up Elvis from head to toe. After confirming Elvis's identity, he then said, "Leader of the Eagle Owl tribe, Ian, I heard that you have sufficient food reserves. If you are willing to share some with me and my tribesmen to help us survive the winter, we will join Saint Nazaire and become your tribesmen." How about that? The alliance of birds was a huge temptation to any tribe, especially the ferocious birds like the eagle-owl tribe. If they could join, it would definitely be like adding wings to a tiger. If it was in the past, he would definitely not hesitate to give all his food to the eagle-owl tribe. But now, he did have food reserves, but these were prepared for Xiao Meng. Sacrificing Xiao Meng's food in exchange for the tribe's strength. Elvis was not willing. We do have food, but how much do we need? Leah understood Elvis's worries, but he also knew that this was a rare opportunity. If they missed this chance, it would be very difficult to invite the birds' tribe to join them again. Our eagle-owl tribe doesn't have many members. Including me, there are a total of 32 males. As long as you can provide me with 10 prey, in addition to our own, we should be able to survive this winter. The price that Ian offered could be considered as sky-high, because in winter, let alone 10 prey, even half a prey was extremely precious. Many males were prepared to stew themselves to fill the stomachs of their females, so how could they have extra prey? Furthermore, there were 10 of them. Originally, Ian had planned to let Elvis bargain, but he did not expect Leah to agree to it with a slight smile. Chapter 263. Ian looked at Leah with a disdainful expression. He raised his head and said, "Us eagle-owl tribe are birds that fly in the sky. We are closer to the beast deity than you beasts. We will never go back on our words." Leah did not mind Ian's disdainful attitude. He just casually took a small bowl that Gu Mengmeng used to eat from the side. Then, he scooped half a bowl of water from the pot that had yet to cool down and passed it to Ian. He said, "I am Saint Nazir's witch doctor, Snow Fox Leah. If you sincerely wish to join us, I will represent Saint Nazir to form a blood alliance with you. From then on, there will be no more eagle-owl tribe in this world, only the stronger Saint Nazir. How about that?" Ian's expression changed. Witch doctor, a deity that could communicate with the beast deity. And it was from the Snow Fox tribe. Ian frowned. Signing a blood alliance with such a person would not allow him to go back on his word. His decision now would affect the future of the entire eagle-owl tribe. Could Saint Nazir really be entrusted to him? Leah was not flustered. He just held the bowl and smiled faintly. He said, "If I am not wrong, the eagle-owl tribe should be at the end of their rope now? Otherwise, the arrogant birds tribe would not be willing to give up their tribe name to seek help. I guess your tribesmen will not be able to hold on until you find a second tribe that is willing to share food with you. Moreover, in the entire beast world, there is no other tribe that could possibly have enough food to share with you." Ian's thoughts were clearly seen through. His brows furrowed even tighter, and he tightly closed his lips, no longer speaking. Foxes were cunning and snow foxes were especially good at reading people's minds. He could not reveal any more information. That would only make him more passive in this negotiation. Leah did not mind Ian's guard. He just continued, "A tribe without any females, other than gradually disappearing, what other outcome would there be? Joining Saint Nazir is currently the most advantageous situation for all of you. Other than being able to survive this harsh winter, you can also ensure that you will have sufficient food to fill your stomachs every winter in the future. If you are lucky enough, you can even mate with the females in the tribe and conceive cubs. Of course, you can also reject and fly away. The tribe leader and I can't and won't stop you. It's just a pity that a tribe might cease to exist after this winter." After Leah finished speaking, he looked at Ian with a tinge of sympathy. Ian clenched his fist and replied, "I can sign a blood oath, but I have to sign it with your clan leader." Leah raised his eyebrows and lifted his chin. "If you don't want to sign, then forget it. But don't blame me for not reminding you, if you missed the chance to join us, when the other people from the flying tribe join Saint Nazir next year, I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to come again." Ian looked at Elvis, who was standing behind Leah without saying a word. He just stood there quietly and did not even emit any powerful aura, but Ian could clearly feel his power. Saint Nazir? Ian savored the name and looked at the black and white duo in front of him. A tribe leader and witch doctor like them should be able to bring the eagle-owl tribe to a brighter future, right? "All right, I'll sign." Ian nodded. Then, he plucked out one of the 2 feathers on his ear and handed it to Leah. Leah used this feather to prick his finger and dripped a drop of blood into the bowl. When the blood met the snow water, it bloomed like a rose in the dark night. Leah gently dipped the feather into the blood water and pierced it between Ian's eyebrows, leaving a blood-red cinnabar mole. At this point, the blood oath was formed. Aside from the topic. Chapter 264. Leah arranged for Ian and his tribesmen to stay in his own cave. The food stored here was just scattered pieces of meat, skinless and boneless. But just by looking at it, one could tell that there were more than 10 of them. There was definitely more than enough. There were also all the other herbs that Ian's tribesmen did not recognize, so there was no point in keeping them. Leah then wrapped them in beast skin and brought them back to Elvis's cave. By the time Leah had settled everything and returned, Gu Mengmeng had woken up from her dreams in a daze. She held onto her waist and was limping as she chased after Elvis. Elvis dodged while not daring to run too fast, ensuring that Gu Mengmeng would hit him every 2 to 3 times. Anyway, it was not painful, so he just treated it as playing with her. Leah leaned against the door and watched the commotion in the cave. He thought he was just smiling faintly, but he did not know that the envy on his face was so much that it could not be concealed. The moment Elvis turned around, Gu Mengmeng, who could not stop in time, fell into his arms and bumped into him. Gu Mengmeng was about to reach out to pull Elvis's ear when Elvis looked at Leah with a serious face and said, "Leah, you're back." Gu Mengmeng's little hand turned halfway and scratched her head. She used her elbow to secretly nudge Elvis's waist and said softly, "I'll let you off today." After that, he turned around and went back to his own room. After Gu Mengmeng left, Leah looked at Elvis and asked, "What happened to Mengmeng? Why did she hit you again?" Elvis shook his head helplessly and said, "I don't know either. Everything was fine at first, but she asked me if she became fat. I said yes, so she started chasing after me and hitting me." Leah looked at Elvis suspiciously and said, "You didn't say anything else? She got angry just because I said she became fat?" Elvis nodded with a serious face. Leah was also at a loss and asked in confusion, "Isn't it a compliment to be able to gain weight during winter? Why did she get angry? Think again, did you do anything else?" Elvis thought hard for a long time and confirmed that he really did not do anything else. The 2 males looked at each other and remained silent. Meanwhile, Gu Mengmeng, who was in the deepest part of the cave, had the veins on her forehead twitching. She could not bear it any longer and roared, "Can you guys speak softer?" King heard everything. Elvis and Leah shuddered and immediately changed the topic stiffly. Ian and the rest of the tribesmen have all been arranged. We will officially introduce them to the rest of the tribe during the rainy season next year. Saint Nazir will have air power in the future. Elvis nodded in agreement. "Do you think they are trustworthy?" Leah nodded and answered, "They have already signed the Blood Alliance. They won't dare to go against it." As they were talking, Gu Mengmeng peeked her little head out from the entrance of the cave and waved at Elvis, asking him to come over. Elvis thought that Gu Mengmeng wanted to hit him a few more times, so he smiled indulgently and said, "It's all right, Leah is not an outsider, you don't have to be afraid of him. If you want to fight, then come and fight." Gu Mengmeng held her forehead and wrinkled her nose. "What nonsense are you spouting? When did I say I wanted to hit you? I'm so gentle and virtuous." Chapter 265. Gu Mengmeng accepted Elvis's compliment with a clear conscience. Because the snow sealing the cave entrance had been broken twice, it was not sealed very tightly and there would always be a cold breeze blowing in. Gu Mengmeng snuggled deeper into Elvis's arms and found a comfortable position to nestle in. She looked up at Elvis and asked, "What are you guys talking about? Can I listen?" Elvis pulled a long beast skin from the side and wrapped Gu Mengmeng up. He checked carefully to see if there were any exposed areas that would be blown in by the wind while replying, "Silly girl, Saint Nazir is your tribe, why can't you listen?" Gu Mengmeng was a little pleased but she still said, "You are the great tribe leader who built Saint Nazir from scratch, Saint Nazir is yours. If you think it's inconvenient for me to listen, I can just avoid it." Elvis made sure that the beast's skin had connected seamlessly to his body and that Gu Meng Meng would not be blown by the cold wind. He then freed one hand to receive the cup of water from Leah. He tested the temperature of the water and it was a little warm, which was suitable for Gu Meng Meng. He then brought the cup to Gu Meng Meng's mouth to feed her water while replying, "I am all yours, so Saint Nazir is naturally also yours." Gu Meng Meng smiled and said, "Such a sweet mouth." After drinking a mouthful of water fed by Elvis, Gu Meng Meng then raised her head and continued asking, "Then what's up with the Eagle Owl tribe that you guys mentioned just now?" Elvis placed the cup at the side and gave Leah a look. Leah then answered Gu Meng Meng's question, "Do you still remember the stray beasts from the previous time?" Gu Meng Meng frowned and instinctively shrunk into Elvis's arms. She nodded her head, obviously still having a lingering fear. Lee's heart ached a little. If he knew that they would be lured into Elvis's cave by Gu Meng Meng singing and scare her badly, he should have gotten rid of them when they stepped into Saint Nazir. But now that things had come to this, he could only be more cautious in the future. He could not turn back time and return to the past. He sighed softly and continued, "I originally thought that those who ran away were frozen to death outside. I didn't expect that one of them was only frozen stiff and not completely dead." After that, he recovered and ran to the Eagle Owl tribe to snatch food but was subdued by Ian. To save his life, he told Ian about the food reserves in Saint Nazir. So the Eagle Owl tribe followed the stray beast's directions and came to seek shelter with us. Eagle Owl. What animal is that? It can fly? Gu Meng Meng's mind was filled with the giant eagle following behind Yanghua. That fellow looked like it could only eat but could not fly. Did the Eagle Owl race look like that too? Standing together with Quentin who had a broken arm, ha ha ha, is this a barbaric version of cosplay? Yes, it can fly. Leah did not know why Gu Meng Meng's expression became a little strange, but she seemed to be in a good mood, so he did not mind it too much and continued asking, "You have to make the decision on this matter, do you want to take them in?" "Me?" Gu Meng Meng pointed at her own nose and asked, "Why am I the one in charge? Didn't the two of you, the chief and the witch doctor, already decide? I heard you say just now that you have already signed a blood alliance with them and given them your prey. How can you go back on your word?" "You can go back on your word if you don't agree." Leah said, "The one who signed the blood alliance is me and not Elvis, so you don't have to worry." Aside from the topic, do you remember what Leah said when you killed Damagua? You still have to hug Gu Meng Meng, it's not good to dirty your hands. Chapter 266. Gu Meng Meng vaguely sensed a strange yet unsettling element in Lee's words, so she asked, "If we go back on our words after signing this blood pact, how will it affect both parties who signed the pact?" Leah was surprised at Gu Meng Meng's sharpness, but also felt a sense of warmth. She did not ignore it just because it had nothing to do with Elvis. Perhaps, she still cared about him. The suffocating feeling in Lee's chest loosened a little. He tried his best to look nonchalant, but his eyes never left Gu Meng Meng's little face. He was so desperate to see an answer from her face, any answer would be good. Thus, he said each word slowly and lightly, with blood as an oath, "If you regret it, you will die." Tsk, Gu Meng Meng frowned and said angrily, "Have you ever been kicked in the head by a donkey? How can you sign such a pact with others so easily? What if the other party has a bad character and uses Saint Nazir's name to swindle others and create trouble? We can't even chase them away." Gu Meng Meng patted her head in despair and said, "It's over, it's over, it's easy to invite them in but hard to send them away. God bless us, please don't let these people from the Eagle Owl tribe be evil people." Leah tried to understand Gu Meng Meng's worries, then replied, "Once they join Saint Nazir, they have to be controlled by Elvis and me, and follow the rules of Saint Nazir, or else we have the right to banish them and execute them. So what you are worried about will not happen. I have checked carefully today. Among their tribe, there are no orcs above the 3rd level, none of them are a match for Elvis and me." Gu Meng Meng rolled her eyes at Leah, looking at him as if she was looking at an idiot. "They can fly, can you too?" Leah choked, but his heart melted a little. The last time Gu Meng Meng spoke to him so naturally was before winter. His smile deepened and Leah was in a good mood, even his tone became more relaxed as he replied, "So I signed a blood pact with them, Once they don't listen to us and become a threat to Saint Nazir, I can activate the blood pact to kill them on the spot. Gu Mengmeng did not feel relieved at all because of Li's preparedness. She just glared at Leah gloomily and said, yes, kill them on the spot and sacrifice your own life at the same time. Are you courting death, or courting death? You can't bear for me to die? Leah asked cautiously. Gu Mengmeng was shocked and instinctively raised her head to look at Elvis. She felt as if she had been caught red-handed by her own husband. He felt so guilty. Licking her lips, Gu Mengmeng buried her face into Elvis's chest and said gloomily, it's everyone's responsibility to cherish life. Every life should be treated with kindness. Although it wasn't the answer he wanted to hear, but it meant that she cared about him and couldn't bear to see him die, right? Leah smiled even more brightly. Even though Gu Mengmeng could not see, he still used his most gentle gaze to stare at the little human who was wrapped tightly in beast skin in Elvis's arms. He replied, don't worry, the flying beasts claim to be the closest to the beast deity. They are a tribe that takes promises very seriously and will not usually do anything that goes against their vows. Chapter 267. Leah was rendered speechless by Gu Mengmeng's retort and could only shake his head helplessly, smiling faintly without saying a word. Elvis, on the other hand, tidied up the beast skin wrapping Gu Mengmeng gently, exposing her little face from the beast skin to prevent her from suffocating. Then, he replied, Quentin did those things not because of his evil nature, but because the female he fell in love with was Nina. The males in the beast world may have all kinds of personalities before mating, but once mating, the personality of the partner will determine the male's emotions. They will infinitely get closer to their partner's preferences, turning themselves into the person she likes more. Gu Mengmeng looked up at Elvis, her eyes filled with confusion. Elvis smiled and tapped her little nose, saying, if one day, you ask me to kill another female, I will do it without hesitation. If it's what you want. I will even do it more cruelly than Quentin. Gu Mengmeng shuddered and hugged Elvis's waist, saying, hubby, calm down a little. Elvis rubbed Gu Mengmeng's little head inside, saying, what a pity, you never gave me the chance to do anything for you. Sometimes, I even envy Quentin. Although Nina is not good, she gave him so many chances to do things for her. And I did not even do one thing to prove my loyalty for you. Gu Mengmeng knocked Elvis's head, saying, what nonsense are you spouting? Is what Nina did testing the loyalty of her partner? She did it as the damn representative of courting death. We are not the same kind of people. I also don't wish for you to become a puppet like Quentin who can't tell right from wrong. Moreover, I feel that you have already done enough for me. I don't need to worry about where I will stay in this world of ice and snow. I don't need to worry about what to eat or what to wear. Even if stray beasts suddenly rush in, I know you will protect me. Even if I can't even tell the difference between day and night in the cave, I still feel very safe. All of this is because of you. Who said that to prove one's loyalty, one has to go through perilous situations? It's the most romantic thing to be able to accompany me to watch the long river flow, do you understand? Elvis rested his chin on the top of Gu Mengmeng's head and swayed his body gently. He said gently, but all these, every male can do it for you. I want to do something that no one else can do for you. I want to make other females envious of you. Gu Mengmeng smiled and shook her head. I don't need others to envy me. It's enough for me to know that I'm living a blissful life. Elvis sighed, but there was no other way. His Xiao Meng had always been special. The more easily satisfied she was, the more he felt that he had not done enough for her. After thinking for a while, Elvis said, Xiao Meng, do you have anything in particular that you want? Tell me, I'll help you find it. Gu Mengmeng smiled and said, yes, I have something that I really wanted, but I already got it. Elvis thought that even if she already had it, he could find more for her, so he asked, what is it? Gu Mengmeng sat up on her knees and held Elvis's face in her hands, giving him a kiss. A wolf in love. Elvis nodded. Elvis's heart warmed up. He smiled and pulled Gu Mengmeng back into his arms. He kissed her lips back and did not let go for a long time. Leah felt that Gu Mengmeng should not be in the mood to care about the Eagle Owl tribe anymore. Based on their pace, it was almost foreseeable what would happen next. Just when Leah was about to leave, he suddenly heard Gu Mengmeng retch. Then, she pushed Elvis away and squatted in a corner to vomit. Digression. So. Chapter 268. The two males panicked. Elvis hurriedly fetched some water to rinse Gu Mengmeng's mouth while Leah moved to Gu Mengmeng's side. He used one hand to pat her back to soothe her breathing while using the other hand to touch her forehead to feel her body temperature. Her temperature was slightly higher, but it was still within a healthy range. Her face was rosy and her breathing was stable. Everything was normal. But why did she vomit? Xiao Meng, come and drink some water. Elvis passed her the warm water and Gu Mengmeng took it to rinse her mouth. She forced herself to drink a few mouthfuls before she could breathe again. She looked at Elvis pitifully with her red eyes. She had vomited till she had no energy left in her body and now she was especially longing for Elvis's embrace. Elvis opened his arms to hug Gu Mengmeng with heartache. He patted her back gently to soothe her emotions. Leah, on the other hand, hurriedly went to check on the food residue that Gu Mengmeng had eaten today. After confirming that there was nothing unusual, he then checked on Gu Mengmeng's vomit and there was nothing unusual too. Everything was normal, but she vomited. Lee's mind suddenly lit up and he immediately transformed into a fox. He moved to Gu Mengmeng's side and sniffed between her legs. Hey hey hey! What are you doing? Leah, don't be like this. Gu Mengmeng shut her legs tightly and used her hands to push Lee's head with all her might. Elvis knew that Leah would not cause trouble for no reason, but his current actions still made Elvis very unhappy. Thus, he carried Gu Mengmeng on his shoulders and stood up to look at Leah, who was in his beast form. Xiao Meng told you not to be like this, she doesn't like it. Leah did not transform back but just used the beast language to squeak at Elvis. Elvis's body first trembled and then he froze as if he was petrified. What's wrong? Gu Mengmeng patted Elvis's face and asked. Elvis turned his head with difficulty like a rusty robot and looked at Gu Mengmeng. Can you let him smell carefully? Elvis. Gu Mengmeng roared. Are you a freaking pervert? Would you be excited to have someone else sniff your wife's body? Scram scram scram, Lil Miss won't cooperate with your disgusting taste. Xiao Meng, don't be angry, you can't be angry. Elvis was a little incoherent and almost bit his own tongue when he spoke. Gu Mengmeng became even angrier upon seeing him like this. She slapped his head and said, stop talking nonsense. No means no. Leah was so anxious that he kept walking in circles. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng refused to cooperate and Elvis could not persuade her, he could only transform back into his human form and pull Gu Mengmeng down from Elvis's shoulders. However, he did not have any lingering feelings between a man and a woman because he had not touched her for a long time. He just said to Elvis with a straight face, she doesn't want me to smell, so you do it. Hurry, you can smell better in your beast form. Elvis did not dare to waste any time at all. He instantly transformed into a wolf and leaned in between Gu Mengmeng's legs to sniff. Then, he looked up at Gu Mengmeng in a daze before burying his head to sniff again. Gu Mengmeng was so angry that she raised her leg and kicked Elvis's face. Her hands were not idle either. She pulled Elvis's hair with all her might and struck a weird pose of a martial arts master who punched a witch doctor and kicked a tribe leader. Gu Mengmeng took the opportunity to run into another cave while the two of them were still in a daze from the beating and could not react. She had only taken 2 steps when Elvis, who had transformed back into his human form, hugged her tightly from behind. Just as Gu Mengmeng was thinking of a way to break free, she heard Elvis say in an agitated and trembling voice, Xiao Meng, we have a cub. Aside from the topic, applause sounded all right. This is how things are, so, everyone can send their blessings. Chapter 269. Gu Mengmeng's first reaction was to laugh out loud and slap Elvis's arm. Stop fooling around, how is that possible? Elvis turned Gu Mengmeng around gently but did not allow her to resist. He looked into her eyes and said seriously, I am sure, you are pregnant. If you don't believe me, let Leah confirm it again. K, do you think your nose is a B scan and you can tell if I am pregnant just by smelling it? Why don't you just go to heaven? Gu Mengmeng could not maintain her smile because the two fellows in front of her, their expressions were so damn serious that it was scary. I am a wolf, I can't fly. Elvis was a little hesitant. He started to regret accepting the Eagle Owl tribe. What if Xiao Meng fell in love with them because they could fly? Gu Mengmeng really wanted to laugh but she could not. She raised her trembling finger to point at Leah and asked, Are you sure? Leah smiled and there was an indescribable passion in his eyes. It had nothing to do with lust or love, it was the passion of a person who had been trapped in the darkness for a long time and finally saw the light. He took a step forward and said, I am 80% sure, if you can let me confirm it in detail. Gu Mengmeng raised her hand and made a gesture to stop him. Leah indeed stopped talking immediately and exchanged glances with Elvis. Both of them were so nervous that they held their breaths and looked at Gu Mengmeng, who looked like she was struck by lightning. They did not know what her next reaction would be. Ah. Wah 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 wah. Gu Mengmeng's legs suddenly turned to jelly and she sat down on the ground. Luckily, Elvis's reaction was fast enough and he turned himself into a praying mat made of wolf meat to catch Gu Mengmeng firmly so that she did not fall onto the ground. Leah was also panicking. In his impression, once females heard that they were pregnant, they would all be so excited that everyone in the world would congratulate them. Why did Gu Mengmeng look so sad? Elvis's heart ached too. The hand that was carrying Gu Mengmeng touched her flat stomach. His heart sank into extreme torment as he watched her cry so heartbroken. After a long time, he finally said, Xiao Meng, if you don't want to give birth to little wolves. I'm only 19, where I come from, I'm not even at the legal age for marriage. I'm still a baby, how am I supposed to raise a child? Sob sob sob. Does it hurt to give birth to a wolf? Will I give birth to a husky with a human head? What if my son is a monster? What should I do? Elvis did not know how to comfort Gu Mengmeng because he could not understand her worries. But he knew that Gu Mengmeng was crying not because she was unwilling to give birth to his cubs. This made him feel at ease. As long as it was not because of this reason, he had the confidence to face any other problems and difficulties. Thinking about this, Elvis gently wiped away Gu Mengmeng's tears and comforted her. Don't worry, I'm here. Don't worry, I will Gu. Gu Mengmeng exploded and punched Elvis's chest harshly. She said angrily, Damn it, you didn't give birth to me and you're not the one in pain. It's easy for you to say that. Elvis frowned and looked at Leah, asking, How painful is it when a female gives birth? Elvis smiled bitterly and said, I have never given birth before. Elvis stayed silent for a while and asked again, Didn't you help Nina before? Leah recalled and said, It was quite easy for her to give birth that time. I did not hear her cry out in pain. Elvis heaved a sigh of relief and patted Gu Mengmeng's back lightly. See, Leah said it was not painful. Gu Mengmeng said angrily, Nina lays eggs and the eggs are so small. Have you given birth to wolves before? Can wolf cubs be as big as eggs? Even if I did not study much, you cannot lie to me like this. Aside from the topic, yeah, I have to thank my little baby Ling Ling. Gu Mengmeng showed off her hand-drawn cartoon to the author's group chat yesterday and felt that she was so awesome she drew it super cute. Chapter 270. Elvis and Leah were instantly shocked. Their expressions were as if they had discovered a shocking secret. Gu Mengmeng felt even more uncertain after seeing that. She pointed at Elvis and Leah and said, I knew it was easy for you to talk, you guys have no experience at all. Are you trying to use me as a lab rat? I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng to prevent her from hurting herself due to being overly agitated. He was very careful with his every move, afraid that she would be wronged. Xiao Meng, don't be afraid. I will go and find other females from other tribes who have given birth to wolf cubs before to ask. I will tell you once I'm clear, alright? Gu Mengmeng pointed at Elvis's nose and looked at him as if she was looking at Chin Shimmy. She said, I worked so hard to give birth to a son for you and you actually want to leave me when I'm pregnant? Elvis did not know how to explain himself. He shook his head and waved his hands innocently. Leah said, then I will go ask. I am a snow fox and my chances of surviving during winter are higher than yours. You stay and take care of Gu Mengmeng. I will go ask. Elvis frowned and said, no, you are the witch doctor. If anything happens to Xiao Meng, it will be safer for you to be there. You cannot leave. Then. The two of them were in a dilemma. They looked at each other but could not think of a solution. Gu Mengmeng stiffened her neck and kicked Elvis again. She said, stop talking nonsense. I won't give birth anyway. You can give birth yourself. Elvis and Lee's eyes lit up at Gu Mengmeng's words. Elvis asked, what are the chances of success? Leah replied, I don't know, I have never tried it before. Elvis remained silent for a moment before saying, put all the risks on me. You just have to promise not to hurt Xiao Meng. Leah and Elvis started to size Gu Mengmeng up seriously. That expression. Gu Mengmeng really felt that she was a lab rat. What are you guys doing? Gu Mengmeng was so scared that she even forgot to cry. We are thinking, what are the chances of success if we take the wolf cubs out of your stomach and place them into Elvis's? Leah answered honestly. Gu Mengmeng rushed up and slapped Lee's face. She glared at the stunned Leah and Elvis who were stunned and roared, do you have any humanity? Cut open my stomach, can I still live? Could the child survive? Do you think this is, the little gecko borrows its tail? You can grow it back if you cut it off. Gu Mengmeng grabbed onto Elvis's beast-skin dress and pulled him towards her. She stared into his eyes and said, we just mated and it's not even winter and you're already tired of me, right? You want to team up with Leah to kill me so quickly so that you can marry a young and beautiful one? There's no more love, is there? Elvis really felt that he could not explain himself and hurriedly shook his head. No, I'm just afraid that you will suffer, my heart aches for you. Gu Mengmeng pushed Elvis and said, if you really dote on me, you shouldn't have made me pregnant back then. Why are you acting like a hindsight now? Elvis lowered his head, like a child who had done something wrong. Gu Mengmeng calmed herself down, as if she was tired after messing around. She stepped on the side of the bed with one leg and placed the other on the ground casually. She hugged the leg that was stepping on the bed with both arms and rested for a while before continuing, Elvis, let me ask you, do you want this child or not? Elvis hurriedly nodded his head, yes. Aside from the topic, update announcement, we have successfully passed the first round of PK in QQ Book City. Now we will begin the second round of PK. From today until next Tuesday, we will maintain updates with 6 updates every day. Babies, please continue to work hard and leave comments and votes. Then, please try to help me light up 5 little stars when you are commenting. I love you guys, thank you babies, thank you QQ Reading Baby, Ruyu, for tipping 100 reading points and thank you, Ling Ling, for tipping 388 reading points. Chapter 271. Gu Mengmeng asked again, then after giving birth, will you love the baby or me? Elvis answered, both. Gu Mengmeng lifted her chin and asked, who do you love the most? Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng and said gently, of course I love you the most. This will never change. Gu Mengmeng then nodded her head in satisfaction and asked again, then, will you not love me anymore because I lost my figure after giving birth? Elvis really did not have any concept of losing his figure, but he was very sure that no matter what Gu Mengmeng became, he would still love her. So he shook his head firmly and said, I swear to the beast deity, I will love you forever and love you more and more every day. Gu Mengmeng leaned into Elvis's arms and hugged his waist, saying, you said it, if you have a change of heart in the future. I will bring my son back to where I came from and never come back, so that you will never be able to find us. Elvis frowned and held onto Gu Mengmeng's shoulders, saying, take it back, take it back. Gu Mengmeng pouted, feeling so wrong that she wanted to cry. Elvis's heart ached but he refused to back down, using a pleading tone, he said, "Whatever you want, I will do as you please. But you are not allowed to say or even think about leaving me." Gu Mengmeng did not give in and straightened her neck, saying, "You have a change of heart and you still don't allow me to leave. Are you being reasonable?" Elvis held on to Gu Mengmeng's little hand and placed it on his chest, frowning and saying, "If you have a change of heart, then dig it out. But, you are not allowed to leave me." Gu Mengmeng tried to retract her hand but did not succeed, so she used her other hand to hit Elvis's chest, saying, "I can't even beat you, why would I dig it out? As long as you say it, I will dig it out personally for you," Elvis said. Gu Mengmeng turned her face away and said, "You have a change of heart, will you still listen to me?" "I will not have a change of heart." Elvis pinched Gu Mengmeng's chin and turned her little face towards him, kissing her lips without any explanation, as if it was a punishment, but more like a silent promise. Gu Mengmeng was kissed dizzily and only regained her freedom when she was out of breath. Gu Mengmeng was kissed till she was dizzy and only regained her freedom after she ran out of air. Elvis placed Gu Mengmeng's little ear on his left chest, letting her listen to his heartbeat as he swore, "Elvis will only love Gu Mengmeng as the only female in my entire life. If I go against this oath, I'm willing to suffer the pain of being skinned and having my bones torn apart." Mengmeng, Gu Mengmeng's ear. Gu Mengmeng looked up and said, "Mengmeng Mengmeng Gu Mengmeng. Mengmeng a chi Gu Gu's this, Ling's a, Elvis's a, Gu a, and Mengmeng mg God. Gu Elmeng her." Elvis cupped Gu Mengmeng's little face and kissed it. Then, he said, "Promise me, don't ever say that you want to leave me again, do you hear me?" Gu Mengmeng nodded in agreement. Elvis heaved a sigh of relief and said, You have a cub now. You can't run around recklessly. You will be in big trouble if you fall." Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, "For the sake of my baby's safety, I will not run around anymore. I will walk slowly and pay attention to my own safety." Elvis said, "Don't even walk, just lie down. If you want to do something, just tell me and I will do it for you, understand?" Aside from the topic, thank you to the little baby from Xiaoxiang Academy, intoxicated by the spring breeze, for the flowers. Yeah, I know you must ask where 075 went. No need to look, 075 is not there, because when I was saving the manuscript, I did not know why there was a missing number in the editing chapter. I did not notice it at all, it's too late to change it now. The later chapters will be messed up. So this chapter's content is the same as the previous one, but the number is skipped by 1. Chapter 272. Gu Mengmeng looked at Elvis in shock. She blinked her big eyes and said, "Then what if I need to poop? You help me poop." Elvis paused for a moment and said, "I'll carry you there." Gu Mengmeng covered her face and laughed, "Stop fooling around. Pregnancy doesn't mean you're completely paralyzed. Do you really need to be unable to walk? At my place, pregnant women need to exercise moderately. That way, it'll be easier to give birth and reduce the possibility of dystocia." Speaking of this, Leah also leaned forward and started listening to Gu Mengmeng's little lecture with a serious face. Gu Mengmeng held her lecture and pointed at the water cup not far away. Leah immediately understood and filled the cup with warm water and placed it in front of Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng nodded like an old professor and took the cup to drink a mouthful of water. Then, she started saying, "During pregnancy, a female's body structure will undergo a huge change. If she doesn't exercise for a long time, her muscles will degenerate and it'll directly lead to a lack of muscle strength during childbirth. If her muscles lose strength halfway through childbirth and the baby gets stuck there, tisk, it'll be a tragedy." He looked at Leah seriously, then at Gu Mengmeng and said, "Then from tomorrow onwards, I will accompany you to exercise, and strive to fill your body with energy 2 months later." Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, "Then I will accompany you to exercise from tomorrow onwards." Gu Mengmeng's eyebrows twitched. She had a bad premonition. It was as if she could see herself being trained by Elvis to become Najah from 100,000 Cold Jokes 2 months later. Gu Mengmeng shuddered and hugged her own shoulders, saying, "Everything has to be done in moderation." Exercise must be moderate and scientific. If you don't exercise, you won't have enough muscle strength. But if you exercise too much, it might affect the baby's chi and cause a miscarriage. By then, the baby will die in the womb and both of them will die. Gu Mengmeng was halfway through her sentence when she suddenly thought of whether wolves were restricted by the one-child policy. If she gave birth to too many children, it would be a serious problem if she brought her husband and son back to her parents' home one day. So, she tilted her head and asked Elvis, How many offspring does your wolf tribe usually give birth to? Elvis said, usually it's 3 to 9, but I think I've also heard of one that gave birth to more than 10. Gu Mengmeng really wanted to roll her eyes and kill herself. Giving birth to twins in the modern world was already awesome enough. How many people would be envious of triplets? But when it came to her, triplets were just jumping valves. What the heck? Gu Mengmeng could almost see herself giving birth to a bunch of huskies, that feeling. Gu Mengmeng shuddered and patted Elvis's shoulder, saying, then this is a serious matter. If the fetus is affected, it could be 10 lives in one body. Elvis's brows formed a dead knot as he looked at Gu Mengmeng with pursed lips. At this moment, he was really regretting. If he knew that giving birth was so dangerous, he should not have let Xiao Meng get pregnant. Gu Mengmeng saw how frightened Elvis was and the little devil in her heart was secretly satisfied. So, she patted his shoulder and said, although a woman giving birth is like a day trip to the gates of hell, and she could be pulled into the underworld anytime to tour it. However, this is a woman's duty after all. As long as she eats and drinks well during pregnancy, maintains a happy mood, and exercises appropriately, the probability of accidents during childbirth will be greatly reduced. Aside from the topic, thank you to the little baby from Xiaoxiang Academy, Luminiliu, for the 50 flowers. It was the first time I received such a huge bouquet of flowers, so happy. Chapter 273. Elvis and Leah engraved Gu Mengmeng's words into their hearts as if they were listening to the Empress Dowager's decree. They completely did not realize that Gu Mengmeng's words were mixed with lies. She was a university student who had never been in a relationship before. All her birthing experience was learned from television dramas and novels. But it was better than nothing. Compared to Elvis and Leah, these two ancient people who had no knowledge and common sense and did not even watch television, Gu Mengmeng was already considered knowledgeable. The two males exchanged glances sternly. They did not even open their mouths to communicate and had already assigned their tasks. Leah turned around and asked Gu Mengmeng with a smile, tell me, is there anything you want to eat in particular? I'll help you find it. Gu Mengmeng looked at the white world outside and shook her head helplessly. Didn't you say that we can't go out when the snow seals the mountain? Leah swung his large tail and said in a slightly arrogant manner, normal orcs can't, but I'm a snow fox. The snow during winter is my world. Leah sent his tail into Gu Mengmeng's arms. Gu Mengmeng rubbed it instinctively and realized that as compared to before, Lee's tail seemed to be much thicker. Looking closely, there was a thick layer of fur growing on the part that was close to his skin. If Lee's tail was said to have an enchanting fairy aura in the past, it was now 100% cute and furry like an anime. Suppressing her desire to stroke it, Gu Mengmeng forced herself to let go. She turned around and pounced into Elvis's arms. She hugged Elvis's waist tightly with both her hands but could not help but stare at Lee's tail. Damn, furry fetishism was really hard to cure. Especially when it came to such a white, soft and fluffy tail. She really had no resistance against it. Gu Mengmeng puffed up her little face and said, it's useless even if you can go out. There's nothing to eat in this world of ice and snow. If there's really something, the people in the tribe don't need to talk about the cold anymore. Before winter, everyone looks like they're bidding farewell to everyone. Leah was more or less disappointed that Gu Mengmeng did not hug his tail like before. But seeing that Gu Mengmeng's expression was no longer as determined and indifferent as before, Leah already felt very happy. He took a step forward and half knelt in front of Gu Mengmeng. His two furry little ears were fluttering on the top of his head, while his large tail that resembled a cat teaser swayed to and fro without any rhythm. He stretched out a furry paw and placed it on Gu Mengmeng's thigh, looking very much like Daji from King of Glory, except that it was a snow-white male dodgy, and it was the one with thicker fur. Tilting his head and elongating his neck, his perfect side profile matched with his long and narrow eyes. His gaze was shallow but full of affection. With a slightly seductive tone, he said, "They are not worth it for me to brave the wind and snow to look for them. And you deserve everything I have." Undeniably, Gu Mengmeng's heart palpitated again because of Li's actions. Biting her lower lip, Gu Mengmeng turned her neck back forcefully and buried her entire face into Elvis's chest. She muttered in her heart, "You must be a woman, you must be a woman. Damn it, mental infidelity is also infidelity, it's equally unforgivable." Elvis gently cupped the back of Gu Mengmeng's head. He could see all her reactions and changes towards Leah even more clearly than Leah. Perhaps, because she cared, she was especially sensitive. Aside from the topic, thank you to Shaoxiang Academy's babies, Weixian 14027D2, and Mayun65, for their evaluation votes. Chapter 274. Leah did not force Gu Mengmeng to give any reaction, he just chuckled, stood up and walked out of the cave. As he turned around, his large tail brushed against Gu Mengmeng's waist lightly, not knowing if it was intentional or not. Through her clothes, she felt a tingling sensation. Elvis brought Gu Mengmeng back to the depths of the cave. The snow sealing the entrance of the outermost cave seemed to be in a state where it could no longer be sealed after being smashed over and over again. As Leah entered and exited, the cold wind kept gushing in. Gu Mengmeng was carried back to her own cave. She still felt a little cold, so she asked Elvis to use beast skin to block the entrance of the cave. Elvis punched 2 pieces of firewood as thick as a forearm into the top of the wall. A mottled tiger skin with 2 front claws tied to the wood became a crudely made but unusually luxurious beast skin curtain. After going through a few turns in the cave, there was not much cold wind that could enter Gu Mengmeng's cave. With this tiger skin curtain blocking the wind and Elvis's method of burning firewood for free, Gu Mengmeng's cave was the warmest place in the world. Gu Mengmeng sat on the chair and kicked her little feet in boredom. She looked at Elvis and asked, "Hubby, can't I hug your tail?" Elvis was boiling water on the fire to keep the cave moist and prevent Gu Mengmeng from having a nosebleed again. He turned back to look at Gu Mengmeng and said, "I thought, you don't like it." Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and asked, "Why not?" "You're my hubby." Elvis set up the pot properly and returned to Gu Mengmeng's side. He did not sit on the bed but sat on the floor with his knees bent. He leaned his shoulder against Gu Mengmeng's knee and pulled her little hand over to play with it gently. His gaze was a little dim. The fire was so close to him but it could not light up his eyes. "My original form is not as pretty as Li's. I don't have white and soft fur like his." Gu Mengmeng hugged Elvis's neck and shook it. She knew that Elvis would feel that he was not as good as Leah. It was mostly because she had shown too much infatuation with Li's original form in the past and neglected Elvis's feelings, causing him to feel so inferior. Feeling a little guilty, Gu Mengmeng's voice also softened. "Is it because of this that you rarely revert to your original form in front of me?" Elvis nodded and avoided her eyes for the first time. He was afraid of seeing disdain and disgust in her eyes. "That's right, compared to the likable Leah, who would like to be dressed in black." Gu Mengmeng held Elvis's face and turned him towards her. She looked straight into Elvis's eyes and said seriously, "But I have already mated with you, I can't possibly go and play with other people's bodies, right? I'm pregnant with your child right now. Do you have the heart to not even let me have such a small wish?" Elvis did not reply and just slowly transformed his own tail. He was not as confident as Leah to flaunt it in front of her. That black tail made him feel a little ashamed. He wanted to gain her love and approval, but he was also afraid that she would despise him when things went wrong. Hence, that large tail revealed a small edge behind his back. Hesitating, Gu Mengmeng did not care so much about him. She scooped up Elvis's large tail and hugged it in her arms. She carefully stroked it a few times before saying in surprise, "Wow, you're really hiding it well." Aside from the topic, today's update is over. tomorrow will still be 6 updates babies. Remember to vote and leave a message when you leave a message. Please help Susu to light up 5 little stars. Thank you to Xiaoxiang Academy's babies, Weiexine140227D2, and MyUN65, for their votes. Chapter 275. Elvis's expression froze as he looked up at the surprised look on Gu Mengmeng's face. Was she pretending to like him to comfort him? Gu Mengmeng rubbed her face against Elvis's large tail, her mood soaring. Unlike Li's tail, Elvis's tail was not as fluffy, nor did it have a firm layer of fur. The fur was slightly harder than Li's, but it was not to the extent of prickling her hands. Gu Mengmeng inserted her fingers into the base of Elvis's tail and stroked the fur upwards. The feeling between her fingers felt like she was skimming over a fine beach. It was clearly filled with hard particles, but it carried the warmth of the sun and a unique delicacy. This was different from Li's absolute fluffiness and softness. It was soft with a hint of firmness, fluffiness with a hint of stubbornness. The punk style of the furry world. Gu Mengmeng's intoxicated look made her forget herself. That soft gasp of admiration turned into a whimper in her throat. It was the first time in his life that a magical feeling came from his tail, causing Elvis to be petrified. From Gu Mengmeng's actions and gaze, he could clearly feel that Xiao Meng really liked his tail and was not pretending to comfort him. This knowledge made him very excited, and the electric current coming from the tip of his tail directly charged a certain part of his body. The uncontrollable change made him feel rather uneasy. He secretly looked at Gu Mengmeng, who was unable to extricate herself from stroking his tail. He realized that she did not notice his abnormality at all, so Elvis fell into a strange struggle. He really wanted to pounce on Gu Mengmeng, but she was so focused on stroking. Would she be angry if he disturbed her? What if she cried out of anger? It was said that pregnant women should not be angry. They must maintain a good mood to give birth successfully. But what if she could not hold it in any longer? Gu Mengmeng felt Elvis's tail gradually stiffening. She kicked Elvis's butt in dissatisfaction and said, "What are you doing? Relax." Elvis swallowed his saliva with difficulty, then lifted his beast-skin skirt helplessly and said, "Xiao Meng, it's a little difficult for me to relax now." Gu Mengmeng then noticed Elvis's huge reaction. She was so shocked that she hurriedly hugged his large tail to calm herself down. She stroked his large tail while saying, "Elvis, calm down. I'm in the early stages of pregnancy now, I can't withstand your torment. If you poke me with that stick, my baby and I will really die in front of you." Elvis had a bitter and conflicted look on his face. His deep eyes clearly showed that he was burning with lust. He stared at Gu Mengmeng but did not dare to act rashly. Gu Mengmeng cleared her throat. She could not bear to see Elvis being so aggrieved, so she cleared her throat and patted the seat beside her, saying, "Why don't you sit over here? I'll think of another way to help you." How could Elvis not be satisfied? Thus, he flipped over and climbed onto the bed, lying down obediently, not moving an inch. Elvis's actions were so swift that the large tail that was originally in Gu Mengmeng's arms slipped away. How could this work? Gu Mengmeng slapped Elvis's buttocks and with a crisp smack, Elvis's face instantly burned up. Bearing with the dryness in his throat, Elvis looked at Gu Mengmeng while panting heavily. He looked just like a frightened grandmother wolf. "What are you looking at? Who asked you to pull your tail away? Quickly return it to me, or else you can just hold it in. I don't care about you." Gu Mengmeng raised her head with an expression of a queen attacking. Aside from the topic, thank you to the little darling of Xiaoxiang Academy LJH1319983886 for your rating ticket, and thank you to the little darling of QQ Reading, Ji Do, for her 99 reading points password, 7K3Y Daily Group Expansion, for 927797273. Chapter 276. After all, Gu Mengmeng was still responsible to Elvis. Since she had lit the fire, she had to extinguish it herself. However, this person in charge was semi-automatic. Halfway through, she fell into a deep sleep from exhaustion, leaving Elvis to slowly deal with the rest. Luckily, Elvis's heart ached for her and did not dare to torture her too much. After releasing it once, he cleaned up the mess for her and placed her on the bed to let her sleep. After getting pregnant, Gu Mengmeng could sleep even better than before. When she woke up due to thirst, she did not know how much time had passed. Gu Mengmeng lifted the beast's skin and before her feet touched the ground, Elvis had already passed her a cup of water. "You're awake? Drink some water to moisten your throat." Gu Mengmeng tasted it lightly. It was warm and the temperature was just right. Gu Mengmeng felt much better after drinking a cup of warm water. Stretching her arms, she leaned on Elvis's shoulder lazily and asked, "How long did I sleep?" In Elvis's world, there was no such thing as a few hours to keep track of time. After thinking for a while, he could only reply vaguely, "I slept for most of the day." Gu Mengmeng rubbed her flat tummy. She did not look any different, but when she knew that there was a baby in her tummy, she still felt that it was very magical. Although she did not feel hungry, but even if the adults did not eat, the little ones still had to eat. Although Gu Mengmeng did not have much experience as a mother, she knew that she could not let her own children starve. So Gu Mengmeng rolled up her sleeves and prepared to make some food. When she walked to the pot, she remembered that Leah had left before she went to sleep, saying that he was going to look for snacks for her. She slept for half a day. Why didn't she see Leah when she woke up? Gu Mengmeng turned around and asked Elvis, "Did Leah come back when I was asleep?" Elvis took out a piece of beast skin and put it on Gu Mengmeng. This piece of beast skin was designed according to Gu Mengmeng's own ideas. It would be an exaggeration to say that it was a design. It was a complete piece of giant rabbit skin with the front paws and soles removed, then sewn into a simple sleeve. Gu Mengmeng's arms were thin and could fit through it. The back legs only needed to be sewn according to the thickness of Gu Mengmeng's calf. A few beast skin ropes were tied around the abdomen. Actually, it looked like many one-piece cartoon pajamas on Taobao, just that Gu Mengmeng was wearing a giant rabbit. The fluffy white fur complemented Gu Mengmeng's skin very well. Before the firelight, she was like a jade doll emitting a warm glow, making people want to get close and protect her. Elvis helped Gu Mengmeng put on the giant rabbit pajamas while replying, "No, it's very difficult to find food during winter. I reckon it would take at least 3 to 5 days. Oh." Gu Mengmeng was a little depressed, feeling that her character was really not that good. She clearly knew that Leah was treating her so well to redeem their relationship, but she had already mated with Elvis and could not possibly reconcile with Leah. Yet, she still made him do all this for her. She really smelled like a rotten green bitch. Elvis did not know what Gu Mengmeng was thinking about, but seeing her depressed look, he felt a little depressed. Wrapping his arms around her waist, Elvis hugged her from behind and whispered into her ear, "Why? Miss him? Do you want me to find him for you?" Gu Mengmeng pinched her nose and said exaggeratedly, so sour. Aside from the topic, thank you to the QQ reading babies, covering the moon, like the moon, seeing the deer in Han Shi, Firefly deer on the other shore, for gifting 100 reading points. Thank you to all the babies who supported Susu during the PK period. This is the last PK chance we have before we go on the shelves. If we pass it, Susu will get a very important recommendation spot. This spot is really very important to Susu. So babies, please help me to leave more comments and that free recommendation ticket every day. Please give it to me, please. Please, if we win the second round of PK, there will be a third round of bonus points. If we lose, then Wen will go on the shelves directly. Chapter 277. Elvis smelled it seriously and didn't notice any sour smell. He didn't mind and just stared at Gu Mengmeng, squinting his eyes and saying, "Is it because I didn't satisfy you just now?" So, as Elvis said, he carried Gu Mengmeng up horizontally. Needless to say, he was going to make up. Gu Mengmeng hurriedly shook her head and said, Don't, I'm pregnant and I can't overwork. My old waist is still hurting now." Elvis looked at Gu Mengmeng's exaggerated acting and couldn't help smiling. He tapped her little nose and said, "You can have many partners, but you must love me the most." Gu Mengmeng raised her eyebrows and looked at Elvis with a strange gaze. unable to differentiate between joy and anger. Elvis's heart tightened. Did he cross the line? This kind of request, females really don't like it. Elvis sighed. What did he say just now? But Gu Mengmeng grabbed Elvis's ear and twisted it, pulling it upwards. She said with a smile on her face, I can have many partners? What do you mean? Are you suspecting me of having an affair with Leah? Or are you expecting me to have an affair with Leah? Elvis's ear hurt from being twisted, but he felt a tinge of sweetness in his heart. Gu Mengmeng's strength was not light. She didn't let go as she questioned, why? Do you think I'm annoying and want to push me into someone else's arms? You don't want your wife and children anymore? Elvis didn't care about his ear and just hugged Gu Mengmeng in his arms and kissed her, saying, I can't wait for you to only have me by your side, but I want you to be happy. Which eye of yours saw that I'm not happy? Gu Mengmeng saw that Elvis's ear was already red from being twisted and her heart ached so much that she let go. She crossed her arms in front of her chest and looked at Elvis stiffly. Elvis's mood was a little down as he said, You looked so disappointed to find Leah not around when you woke up. Gu Mengmeng poked Elvis's brows and said, Leah is not my husband. He braved the wind and snow to find snacks for me and is still not back so late. How can I have a clear conscience and pretend that I don't know how to eat and sleep? If we owe them a favor, how are we going to return it in the future? It would be great if nothing happened to him. If something happened to him, I would be traumatized for the rest of my life. It's only right for males to do things for females. If it wasn't for the fact that only Leah could move freely during winter, I think all the males in Saint Nazaire would be willing to do these things for you. Gu Mengmeng once again felt the communication barrier caused by the difference in views. She remained silent for a moment to organize her thoughts before asking, Why do males treat me so well? Just because I'm a female? Or is it because you want to express your goodwill and mate with me? Elvis was confused. What's the difference? Gu Mengmeng said, If someone treats me well and I accept it, I have to repay them in some way. For example, I ordered Bode to find the honey because I taught him how to get it without getting hurt, and he gave me some of the honey I taught him. I accepted it without any burden. But if he wants to give me half of the fish he catches, I can't take it. Similarly, I can accept the food, beast skin and other daily necessities that you prepared for me because you are my husband. But I won't accept these things if they are given to me by others. Because if I accept them, it will give others a wrong hint and make them feel that they can mate with me if they put in more effort for me. Aside from the topic. Chapter 278. Elvis listened without fully understanding and did not interrupt Gu Mengmeng's words. Gu Mengmeng took a deep breath and continued, If you are not really considering accepting him as your partner, you should not have given him such an illusion right from the start. This kind of use is too shameless and a person of integrity like me cannot do it. And now, Leah is staying in our cave because of your injury, and his cave is temporarily occupied by the Eagle Owl tribe. He helped us when we were in danger, we can't possibly burn the bridge and chase him away, right? So I agreed to let Leah stay in our cave, but I don't want to receive too much care from him. Gu Mengmeng paused and sorted out her emotions before continuing, Leah and I, you know about it too. But no matter how much I liked him in the past, now that I have become your partner, I don't want him to think that we can return to how we were in the past if he treats me better. So the best way is to not cross that line and maintain a distance that is neither too far nor too close to each other. If he went to look for snacks for me today and only needed about half an hour to return, then I can accept it. We are friends, it is normal for him to run errands for me when I am pregnant. But if he needs to be gone for 3 to 4 days, to me, it is too much of a burden. After hearing that, Elvis remained silent for a long time. His blue eyes were as deep as the ocean. He pondered for a long time before asking, Leah, you really don't intend to forgive him? Gu Mengmeng did not answer and asked back, you hope that I can forgive him? Elvis hesitated for a moment but eventually nodded his head. Gu Mengmeng sat back and pulled some distance away from Elvis. She frowned and asked, and then? What do you hope that I will do after forgiving him? A blood vessel popped out on Elvis's forehead. His struggle and conflict did not need to be described, and it was obvious. After what felt like a century, Elvis finally replied with a dry voice, "Accept him and let him be your partner." "What about you? Are you leaving me?" Gu Mengmeng asked coldly. Elvis looked up suddenly and shook his head firmly. "I will not leave you, not at any time." Gu Mengmeng crossed her arms in front of her chest and said, "I can only have one partner, you know that." Elvis tried to hold Gu Mengmeng's hand but was flung away by her. Elvis knew that Gu Mengmeng was angry, but he still decided to continue. Taking 2 steps forward, Elvis circled Gu Mengmeng in his arms and rested his chin on Gu Mengmeng's neck. His voice was so hoarse that it made one's heart ache. "I long to enjoy you alone, to let you belong to me alone." But, other than the time he spent with you, his life was worse than death. There was only hatred and destruction in his eyes, just like me back then. Gu Mengmeng could vaguely feel something. She could not describe what she was thinking, but she knew that she should listen to Elvis's words quietly, so she did not struggle anymore and allowed Elvis to hug her and talk about his past with Leah. "We are all people standing on the precipice, teetering on the brink of collapse, yet blindly walking towards the abyss of eternal damnation. I'm very lucky to have you holding me back." Leah originally had such a chance too. Elvis sighed and said, "Until we met you, Leah and I finally came back to life. If we had not met you, we would have continued living on hatred. But now, if we lose you, there is nothing else that can support us to continue breathing. Aside from the topic." Chapter 279. Elvis could tell from Gu Mengmeng's expression that she wanted to know what had happened in the past. Although those memories were not pretty and it would be bloody if he peeled open his wounds, but if he could talk about those things, other than Gu Mengmeng, there was no one else he could open his heart to. Elvis sighed and asked, "Where do you want to start?" Gu Mengmeng placed her little hand on Elvis's chest and placed it on his left chest to feel his heartbeat. She leaned into his embrace gently and said softly, "Start from the part where you are willing to share with me and where you will not feel uncomfortable." Elvis recalled his past seriously. When he was hugging Gu Mengmeng in his arms, he suddenly felt that the countless sleepless nights and the hatred and bloodlust in his heart were not worth mentioning. After having Gu Mengmeng, he felt that those torturous days were just a nightmare that passed by in the blink of an eye, so blurry and insignificant. Since she was talking about Leah, then he should put those painful past aside for now. Xiao Meng's mood would only be affected if she knew about those unhappy things. With that thought in mind, Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng's shoulders and said slowly, "Let's start from the day I met Leah. At that time, I was still a lone ranger and I met Leah, who was covered in wounds in the depths of the forest. He was on the verge of death and could not even maintain his human form, but he refused to lie in the ditch and wait for death like a normal beast. Instead, he raised his head and stared in one direction with determination. I did not know what he was looking at, I only knew that gaze. I had seen it countless times in the reflection by the water." Elvis paused and smiled sarcastically. He continued, "I don't even know what I was thinking at that time. For some unknown reason, I gave half of my food to him. Then, I sat together with him and ate the first meal in my life with someone accompanying me peacefully. That feeling was very strange. It was clearly the first time we met, but it felt like we had known each other for a long time. We did not need to say anything and we could understand each other's thoughts, or, it was not that we did not need to say anything, but those feelings could not be expressed in words." Elvis looked down at Gu Mengmeng and asked, "What are you laughing at?" Gu Mengmeng rubbed her tummy and answered, "If I had not mated with you, I think I would really believe that you and Leah are a couple." Gu Mengmeng had already answered this question a long time ago. Elvis frowned and sighed, "How can 2 males form a pair?" Gu Mengmeng pouted and mumbled softly, "Only people of the same sex need to attack and receive. How can people of different genders love each other?" "What did you say?" Elvis gritted his teeth in anger. How can we love each other when we are of different genders? Now that they had a baby, what else could it be if it wasn't love? No, you can continue. Gu Mengmeng waved her hands and apologized for ruining the atmosphere. Although she was not sincere at all, Elvis did not continue as he thought of something else. He cupped Gu Mengmeng's little chin and said, I remember you had thought of this before. You even treated Li's prayer as a forced marriage on me on the day of the coming-of-age ceremony, right? Gu Mengmeng burst out laughing when she thought of how Leah dressed up strangely and stood on top of the wooden pagoda. She nodded her head in delight. Then, who do you think is the one on the attack and the one on the receiving? Aside from the topic. Chapter 280. What the heck, this question was too serious. If she answered honestly, Gu Mengmeng had no doubt that Elvis would make her lie in bed until her son was born in order to prove his masculinity. What the heck, just thinking about it made Gu Mengmeng's legs go numb and her hip bones turn soft, while her heart shuddered. Laughing dryly, Gu Mengmeng rubbed her temples and pretended to be forgetful. Sigh, people say that pregnancy makes you dumb for 3 years. I just got pregnant and my memory deteriorated rapidly. The things in the past, I can't remember anymore. Elvis did not know what to do with Gu Mengmeng, but he was not a fool. Raising his brows, Elvis pinched Gu Mengmeng's little nose and said, Remember, I will ask you again 3 years later. Think about it carefully then answer me. Yes, Sir Hubby. Gu Mengmeng wrapped her arms around Elvis's arm obediently and looked up at him. Continue, what happened next? Elvis sorted out his emotions that were messed up by Gu Mengmeng and continued. After we finished eating, Leah suggested to me to create a tribe. I was very shocked at that time. There were only the 2 of us, how could we create a tribe? And at that time, I was used to drifting. Settling down was something that I had never thought of. But at that time, I did not have anything worth doing. Creating a tribe was just one of the many crazy things that I had yet to try. At that time, I had the thought of accompanying him for 2 days and leaving when I felt bored, so I agreed to his suggestion. That year, the 2 of us fought side by side, using battle after battle to tear open a gap in the territories of many tribes, delineating our own territory and forming the embryonic form of Saint Nazir's territory. But at that time, our tribe did not even have a name. In the spring of the 2nd year, Leah and I went to the female beauty pageant. It was the first time we met Maya. She was originally accompanying the first beauty of their tribe to participate in the contest, but on the way back, they met stray beasts. The males in the tribe could not protect both of them at the same time, so they chose to give up on Maya and protect the first beauty with all their might. But it was a pity that stray beasts were not the type to give up easily. They asked one of them to look after Maya, while the other one attacked with all their might, fighting for the other female. In the battle, the female was bitten to death by a stray beast that had gone berserk. Instead, Maya, who had been abandoned from the start, managed to survive because she curled up quietly at the side. I originally didn't want to bother about these troublesome matters, but Leah said that for the tribe to develop, there must be females. And females saved from the stray beasts are the least likely source of conflict. So the 2 of us saved Maya from the stray beasts and brought her back to the beauty pageant. Even though Maya was still underage then, after Leah dressed her up, she managed to attract many males to follow her and join our tribe. And the name Saint Nazir was the result of Lee's consultation with the beast deity during Maya's coming-of-age ceremony. In beast language, it means reaper. At that time, everyone in the tribe knew about Maya's experience, so they thought that the beast deity's intention was to make our tribe stronger, and use the identity of reaper to save more females like Maya from the stray beasts. But Leah and I both knew that the meaning of reaper to us is revenge. Digression. Thank you, Bianing Lu, for tipping 100 points. Thank you babies for your support during the PK period. Su saw all the 5-star reviews that everyone worked hard to help Su. Thank you babies. Chapter 281. Revenge? Gu Mengmeng did not understand what he meant and asked, to whom? We have never asked each other this question, but we both know very well that in our hearts, there is someone we need to take revenge on. Elvis paused for a moment before continuing. Now it seems like Sauter is the one Leah wants to take revenge on. What about you? Gu Mengmeng pressed on. Elvis lowered his head and met Gu Mengmeng's eyes. His blue eyes reflected the light from the fire, just like the starry night sky, so dazzling that one could not look away. Gently rubbing Gu Mengmeng's little head, Elvis said with a gentle face. Now, I can no longer remember what I hate, because those, compared to you, are too insignificant. Gu Mengmeng's heart warmed and she smiled. I am very honored to be able to walk out of your unhappy past with me. In the future, we will be very happy. Elvis nodded, his smile full of tenderness. He lifted Gu Mengmeng's little chin and kissed it, saying, So, don't ever leave me. I don't want to go back anymore. Yeah. Gu Mengmeng nodded and kissed Elvis back. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng and placed her on his lap, then used his chin to gently rest on the top of her head. Looking at the burning fire, he slowly opened his mouth and continued, I don't know what the people of Sauter did to Leah, but I know that Lee's hatred towards them is inextinguishable. From the start, his decision to build Saint Nazaire was not a spur-of-the-moment decision. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback and continued Elvis's words. What you mean is, from the start, Leah wanted to build a strong tribe to fight against Sauter, for revenge? Elvis nodded slowly and said, meeting me was an opportunity. His plan only started to form after meeting me. I don't know why he would place me in such a central position and not become the tribe leader himself. With his abilities, even without me, he should be able to achieve his goal. I've asked him this question before, and his answer was, I'm more like a living person than he is. Gu Mengmeng did not quite understand the meaning of this sentence. She wanted to raise her head to take a look, but Elvis pressed against her little head to stop her. He played with her little hand and continued, This sentence is very strange, right? Over the years, I would occasionally think of these words, but I never understood them. It wasn't until I met you that I saw with my own eyes what Leah meant by living. Can you imagine? In the days before I met you, Lee's expression had always been smiling and had never changed. Regardless of whether he was facing an unreasonable female or a powerful, despicable, or vulnerable opponent, his expression was always the same. No one could tell his emotions from his expression, not even me. But after meeting you, his eyes began to shine, and his smile began to represent his emotions. I even saw jealousy in his eyes. Just because you ignored him when you were fooling around with Sandy. He gradually recovered from being a shell, and started to look like a living person bit by bit. Only then did I know that he said those words back then. Perhaps it was because I would at least express the emotions of disgust or impatience towards certain things, while he did not even have these two emotions. Aside from the topic. Chapter 282. Gu Mengmeng found it hard to imagine. What kind of life was it for a person to not have any feelings of disgust? Or, could he still be considered alive? Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng's little head and kissed it, continuing, a person who has not had any emotions for many years, any emotion he feels now will be magnified many times more than an ordinary person. The amount of happiness he once felt because of you is the same amount of pain he feels now. I'm afraid he can't withstand such a huge difference. Gu Mengmeng's heart tightened too. She felt a sense of guilt, as if she did not kill him but he died because of her. Biting her lower lip, Gu Mengmeng felt a little discouraged and said, But I can't mate with him just because I pity him. If I don't love him but accept him, wouldn't his future life be even more miserable? Maybe, after a period of time, he won't get any reciprocation from me and will slowly give up. Or maybe one day, he will meet someone better and realize that I'm not worth his persistence. Elvis smiled and held Gu Mengmeng's little face, saying seriously, In this world, there's no one better than you. Gu Mengmeng felt good being praised by her own husband, but she was too embarrassed to admit it, so she said, That's just what you think, others might not think the same, right? Elvis sighed. He hoped more than anyone else that the two possibilities Gu Mengmeng mentioned could come true, but he knew better than anyone how impossible these two possibilities were. Persuading his own female to accept someone else, Elvis could be considered a precedent in the beast world. Because other females did not need persuasion at all, it was something that could not be stopped. They could just casually go out for a walk and come back home with a few new members. But the one in their family was so caring, so gentle, so unbearable. I won't force you to accept Leah, but at least give him some time to get used to it. Don't be too cruel to him before he gives up. Elvis's hand tangled with Gu Mengmeng's fingers lightly, feeling extremely conflicted. Who would be willing to let his wife find a few more men? But, if I hadn't challenged him to a duel that time, he would be the one with this happiness now. Every time I see Leah being sad for you, I feel like a despicable thief who stole the happiness that should have been his. Gu Mengmeng suddenly laughed. She looked up at Elvis and asked, "Do you really think that you won me from a fight?" Elvis nodded his head seriously. Gu Mengmeng really did not know whether to laugh or cry and was too lazy to explain. She just hugged Elvis's face and kissed his chin, saying, "All right, then you better improve your skills well. If we lose one day, our family might have a few more family members." Elvis remained silent for a moment before asking, "Will you accept Leah if he defeats me?" Gu Mengmeng did not answer but asked back, "If I say yes, will you go easy on me?" "Go, easy? Where to put it?" Elvis asked seriously. Gu Mengmeng was speechless. She rearranged her words and said, "What I mean is, if I say, yes, will you purposely lose to him?" Chapter 283. Gu Mengmeng nodded her head in satisfaction before wrapping her arms around Elvis's neck. "You will listen to me, right?" Elvis nodded without hesitation. Gu Mengmeng pressed her forehead against Elvis's and said, "I want you to be invincible." Elvis was stunned and his lips curled up. He kissed Gu Mengmeng's lips and said softly, "All right, from today onwards, there will only be death in battle and no defeat." Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "Only victory, no defeat and no death. I don't want to be a widow and I don't want my son to be an orphan." Elvis followed Gu Mengmeng's hand and looked at her flat stomach. There was a strange feeling nourishing his entire body. Placing Gu Mengmeng on the bed, he knelt on the floor and pressed his face against Gu Mengmeng's stomach. He held his breath and concentrated on listening to something. Gu Mengmeng smiled and said, "It's only been a few days. What can I hear?" "I can only hear it after 3 to 5 months. Elvis tilted his head and looked at Gu Mengmeng, saying, "They should give birth in about 60 days. After 3 to 5 months, you don't have to listen anymore and they should be able to run around." Gu Mengmeng was stunned and asked with her eyes widened, "What? 60 days?" Elvis nodded and said, "The gestation time for wolf cubs is about 60 to 63 days. F*******. Gu Mengmeng deeply felt that ever since she came to the beast world, her life seemed to have pressed the fast-forward button. First love, heartbreak, marriage, pregnancy, everything happened in such a short time that she did not even have the time to carefully savor each feeling before rushing to the next stage. "What's wrong?" Elvis asked. Gu Mengmeng's face was bitter as she said, "People say that a woman is like a princess when she's in love, like an empress when she's married, like an empress when she's pregnant, and after giving birth, she has to be an old mother for a generation. I only became a princess for a few days and you're already in a hurry to mate. You're an empress for less than a month and you're already an empress. I thought it would at least be a full month, but you want me to return to the court and start a long journey as an old mother in just 2 months, sobs. Elvis, I've really suffered a loss in marrying you. I want a refund. Elvis completely did not understand the difference between princess, empress, and old maid. Or rather, he did not understand the meaning of these titles at all. Gu Mengmeng's emotions had been fluctuating greatly ever since she got pregnant. He was especially afraid that she would be angry, because she said that if a pregnant woman was angry, it would result in a miscarriage, which was very dangerous. So Elvis asked carefully, "Do you want to be a princess, an empress, or an empress?" Gu Mengmeng twitched her lips and said, "I don't want any of them, I want to be a queen." "All right, then you can be the queen. After the ice melts, we will hold the heaven offering ceremony and let Leah report to the beast deity that you are the queen of Saint Nazir, all right?" Elvis said seriously. Looking at Elvis's serious face, Gu Mengmeng suddenly laughed. She raised her head and said, "You don't have to go through so much trouble, I just want to be your queen." Elvis also smiled. He knelt on the ground and wrapped his upper body around Gu Mengmeng's waist. "My exclusive queen? Isn't that too blissful?" Chapter 284. Elvis laughed. Silly girl, the females in the beast world are only responsible for breastfeeding, the rest is done by the males. Gu Meng Meng was overjoyed and raised her eyebrows high, asking, "So, you are the one taking care of the children? You don't need me to?" Elvis nodded, "Yes, Queen. But you have to take care of the children and me during my confinement, won't it be too tiring?" Although Gu Meng Meng had never given birth before, she had the experience of taking care of little kids in the past, so she knew how scary naughty children were. Confinement? Elvis caught the main point. Yeah. Gu Meng Meng nodded. After a woman gives birth, all the bones in her body will be more or less displaced, so she needs to rest for a month to let her bones return to their original positions. She can't be exposed to the wind, nor can she be tired, or else there will be repercussions and she will have to suffer for the rest of her life. Gu Meng Meng still did not know how big of a hole she had dug for herself with her words. Elvis remembered this sentence firmly in his heart, then said, "It's all right, let Leah take care of the cubs, I will take care of you." Gu Meng Meng raised her eyebrows, asking, "It's not appropriate to throw your own children to others." Elvis kissed Gu Meng Meng's forehead, saying, "Xiao Meng, don't be too cruel to Leah, at least allow him to do something for you. Or else, he really won't be able to survive." But Gu Meng Meng frowned, feeling very burdened. But Elvis smiled. His smile was exceptionally evil. Males who have not mated cannot break through the bottleneck of the 3rd level. I am a 4th level beast now, while Leah is 3rd level, he can't beat me. Gu Meng Meng reacted for a while, then looked at Elvis with a, "I didn't expect you to be such a scheming B***tch face," saying, "So you said, those who can't beat you can't become our family member, but as long as they have not mated, they can't beat you, so you want to order Leah around like a free Filipino maid? Is this alright? Is this really alright? Aren't the two of you good brothers who have depended on each other for many years? What happened to the friendship of life and death? How can this friendship of yours capsize so easily?" But Elvis remained indifferent, saying, "He can leave if he's unwilling, I won't stop him." Gu Meng Meng shook her head helplessly and said, "I didn't expect you to be like this, Elvis, you're so black-hearted." Elvis pulled Gu Meng Meng's little hand over and kissed it, before saying, "So, you don't have to feel burdened. Just accept his kindness. When he defeats me, you can consider whether or not you want to accept him." Gu Meng Meng still wanted to say something, but Elvis stood up and walked to the side of the stone pot, saying, "Leah cooked 3 days' worth of food before we left, and asked me to pour a bowl of it into the pot to heat it up for you to eat. I'll take this bowl today." With that, Elvis poured a bowl of unknown substance into the stone pot. There was originally a finger-deep pool of boiling water in the stone pot, and when the frozen food fell into the pot, the boiling water splashed everywhere. But Elvis's face was cold, and he did not dodge. He just stared at the pot as if he was facing a formidable enemy, constantly comparing the situation in the pot with the food that Leah told him to take out of the pot. Looking at Elvis, who was obviously not good at cooking, but kept learning and trying hard for her sake, Gu Meng Meng could not bear to discuss more about other men with him, especially when this man was her ex-boyfriend. Chapter 285. On the 3rd night, Elvis's cave entrance was once again destroyed from the outside. Gu Meng Meng came out wearing a beast skin and saw Leah sweeping the snow off his body with his fluffy tail under the bright moonlight. The moment he saw Gu Meng Meng, the snow fox transformed into a human, leaving behind a large furry tail and a pair of cute fox ears. "Meng Meng, I'm back." Lee's smile was even brighter than the moonlight. He stomped his feet at the entrance to shake off all the snow on his body, but raised his hand to stop Gu Meng Meng from coming closer. "Go back inside and wait for a while, I'll come in after warming myself up." "It's all right, I'm not cold." As Gu Meng Meng said that, she walked to Lee's side and held his hand, leading him into the depths of the cave. As they walked, she said, "Elvis said just now that the food you prepared has been finished. If you still don't come back, he will personally cook for you." Io, thinking about his cooking skills. Leah did not say a word and just followed behind Gu Meng Meng quietly, letting her hold his hand. This feeling was like a dream. He had been searching for small things for her to eat these 3 days. Every time he was about to freeze, he would tell himself that Meng Meng was still waiting for him, so he had to come back alive. But when he really saw Gu Meng Meng waiting for him, he could not believe it. Was Meng Meng not angry at him anymore? He did not dare to ask this question. He did not even dare to make a sound, afraid that this was just a hallucination before he died frozen in the snow. Once this illusion bubble burst, all that was left in front of him was the howling wind and the cold snow, composing the music of death. To be able to see such a scene before his death, he decided to forgive all the cruelty in the past on account of the beast deity's kindness. Entering the depths of the cave, Elvis was stirring the food in the stone pot with a serious expression. He looked up at Leah and said, "If you don't come back soon, I'll think you died outside." Leah smiled faintly and did not say anything. Gu Meng Meng pulled Leah to the side of the fire and made him sit down. Then, she took a beast skin and draped it over him. "You must be tired after being wild for 3 days, right? Have a good rest after eating. If there's anything else, let's talk tomorrow." Elvis clapped his hands, indicating that the food was ready. He then took out the biggest bowl and scooped a bowl for Gu Meng Meng, before taking out 2 smaller bowls for himself and Leah. He passed the bowl to Leah, but Leah did not reach out to take it. Elvis frowned and said, "You still want me to feed you?" Leah suddenly smiled and carefully took over the small bowl. Then, he took a small sip. This illusion is really realistic. Even the temperature and smell are so real. Wah! Gu Meng Meng had just taken a bite when she suddenly vomited. She squatted by the bed and vomited until she could not straighten her back. Elvis hurriedly placed the bowl down, then patted Gu Meng Meng's back while turning around to look at Leah, who was smiling like an idiot. "Did you freeze yourself, silly? Aren't you going to get some water?" I can still do a small thing for Meng Meng before I die. I am so happy." Leah nodded and smiled as he took Gu Meng Meng's cup. He poured a cup of warm water from the stone pot at the side and passed it to Elvis. As Elvis was in a hurry to receive it, his nails accidentally cut Lee's fingers. Blood, bleeding, and a little pain. So, this is not an illusion. Aside from the topic, babies, don't say that I mistreated Leah. After a while, when Wenwen is put up for adoption, Leah will be a child with a biological mother. Then, will I still dare to mistreat him in the future? Chapter 286. Why are you in a daze? Water. Elvis was very surprised by Lee's state this time. Leah had always been meticulous and sharp, such a slow reaction was unlike him. Leah was called back to his senses by Elvis and wanted to pass the cup to Elvis, but he suddenly changed direction halfway and walked straight to Gu Meng Meng's side. He carried Gu Meng Meng, who had just vomited, and bent one knee to the ground while the other was bent at a 90-degree angle. He used his leg as a chair for Gu Meng Meng to sit down, then used his big tail to support her back, turning himself into a human fox chair. With both hands free, he wiped away the filth at the side of Gu Meng Meng's lips with one hand and passed the cup to her lips with the other, saying gently, "Come, drink some water." Gu Meng Meng was dizzy from vomiting and could not care less about who was taking care of her. She drank a mouthful of water from the side of the cup, rinsed her mouth and spat it out. Then, she drank another mouthful before forcefully swallowing it down, suppressing the nauseous feeling. Leah stuck out his tongue and licked away the water stain at the side of Gu Meng Meng's lips. This action shocked Gu Meng Meng, who had just regained her senses, and she instinctively took a step back. She looked at Leah warily and asked, "What are you doing?" Leah stretched out both his hands, one holding a cup of water and the other holding a bunch of grapes that had the texture of ice crystals. He tilted his head and said, "I don't have hands anymore." Gu Meng Meng lifted her sleeves to wipe her mouth, then laughed dryly and said, "It's all right, I can do it myself." Leah looked at Gu Meng Meng with a wronged look and said, "You were the one who held my hand first." Gu Meng Meng could not refute him. The education in the modern world was different from the Qing dynasty. It was normal for a friend who had not returned for 3 days to pull down his arm to warm himself by the fire and drink a cup of hot water, but to Leah, it was a special hint. Gu Mengmeng sighed and stood up from Li's legs. She said, "Sorry, I was careless. I will take note in the future." Leah followed Gu Mengmeng up and hugged her from behind. Like a dog abandoned by its owner, he said pitifully, compared to an apology, "I want to hear your confession more." Leah. Gu Mengmeng did not struggle with all her might. She could not deny that the stories Elvis had told her had loosened her grip on Leah. The human heart was made of flesh. "I won't cross the line again. I won't be greedy for more." Leah was not like Elvis, who could not wait to rub Gu Mengmeng into his body every time he hugged her. Instead, he was loose and soft. It gave Gu Mengmeng space to breathe, but did not allow her to break free at will. It was a gentle trap, not terrifying, but equally fatal. "I will abide by your boundaries, so, treat me a little better, just a little, okay?" Gu Mengmeng could not reject him, because Elvis said that she was the only one who could free Leah from the clutches of hatred all these years. If she took drastic measures without holding back, she might very well be the last straw that broke Li's back. After all, they had fallen in love once. If she really wanted to push Leah to his death, Gu Mengmeng knew that she could not bring herself to do it. But if she were to give herself to someone just because of pity, Gu Mengmeng knew that she did not have that much love for this level of sacrifice. Digression, Leah, feeling wronged, he bit his handkerchief. Chapter 287. Leah, let's reconcile. Gu Mengmeng gently pushed Li's arms away. Her actions were not violent and it made Leah unable to continue restraining her. Gu Mengmeng took a step forward and turned to look at Leah. She continued, "I liked you from the bottom of my heart back then. I don't know where we would be if so many things did not happen. Maybe I would mate with you and bear your children. Maybe even if you did not do those things that made me sad, would still break up with you. Because, liking is just liking, it's not love." Leah could not maintain his smile and his trembling lips made one's heart ache. He plucked a grape that looked like an ice crystal and stuffed it into Gu Mengmeng's mouth without any explanation. He then said to himself, "This is called Xueling fruit. It's only available during winter. There are not many people who have eaten it in the beast world. Even our snow fox tribe would not take the risk to look for it during winter. But its taste is very special and all the females who have eaten it say they like it. Eat more while it's fresh. Don't waste my effort." With that, he stuffed all the Xueling fruits into Gu Mengmeng's arms and turned to leave. That silhouette was fleeing in panic. He could remain calm even when facing enemies stronger than him. But he was always defeated in front of Gu Mengmeng. He did not know what he was afraid of. At least Gu Mengmeng did not destroy that relationship. She said she wanted to reconcile with him. She even admitted that she liked him. Shouldn't this be something to be happy about? But why did his heart hurt so much? It was even more painful than the day she mated. He must have suffered frostbite while searching for the Xueling fruit. If not, why would there be a layer of 1,000-year-old ice on his heart? It was hard yet fragile. Just one word from Gu Mengmeng would shatter it into tiny ice shards. Gu Mengmeng looked at the Xueling fruit in her arms. She did not chase after Leah. She knew that with Li's intelligence, he would definitely be able to guess what she wanted to say. Giving him some time to slowly accept it might be the best outcome for everyone. Could people who had fallen in love still be friends? This was a topic that questioned human nature. As Gu Mengmeng herself, she did not believe it. But Leah, other than a friend, what other identity could she give him? Gu Mengmeng sighed and sat back on the bed. She used a small bowl to divide the Xueling fruit into 3 portions and held one bowl for herself to eat. The taste was a little sour and a little sweet. It tasted a little like a mangosteen without its skin, and a little like an unripe kiwi. That smell was magical, but it successfully suppressed the waves of nausea that Gu Mengmeng could not suppress just now. Unknowingly, his share of Xueling fruits had been emptied. Gu Mengmeng licked her lips and secretly stretched her hand towards Elvis's little bowl. "Just one will do, just one, Gu Mengmeng's hand hesitated for a long time above the bowl before she picked the biggest one and stuffed it into her mouth. That mouthful of crispy sweetness made her feel extremely satisfied. Ah, the food in other people's bowls is indeed more delicious. Gu Mengmeng sucked on her fingers and stared at the bowl of tempting shui ling fruits. She looked around and then said softly, just one more, just one more. Gu Mengmeng looked at the bowl of tempting shui ling fruits. Chapter 288. Hubby, Gu Mengmeng shouted at the top of her lungs. Elvis answered and came over with a bowl of steaming fish and potatoes in his hands. Leah followed behind him with a bowl of roasted sweet potatoes that were just taken from the fire pit. The moment the two of them entered, they saw Gu Mengmeng kneeling by the bed, her eyes staring fixedly at the two bowls at the side of the bed. That look of her swallowing her saliva was clearly written on her face that said, "I want to eat," but she was trying her best to hold it back. It was very lovable. Gu Mengmeng's eyes were glued to the bowls at the side of the bed. Elvis sat beside Gu Mengmeng and glanced at the two bowls. Each bowl was filled with shui ling fruits, but one bowl had more while the other bowl had less. What's wrong? Elvis did not understand why Gu Mengmeng was staring at the two bowls in a daze. Eat if you want, these are all yours. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and pointed at the bowl with more fruits. This is Li's. Then, she pointed at the bowl with less fruits. This is yours. Gu Mengmeng carried the smaller bowl and lowered her head like a child who had done something wrong. Her voice was filled with grievance as she pouted and explained, "You and Leah originally had the same amount, but I couldn't help it." Gu Mengmeng smacked her lips. There was no longer any sweetness in her mouth and only a sour taste was left. But it was this taste that made her unable to stop herself. She steeled her heart and passed the bowl to Elvis. She turned her face to the other side and said with an expression as if she could not bear to look, "Here, hurry and eat. If you don't eat, I will finish it all." Elvis's heart was so warm that it was a mess. He held the food with one hand and hugged Gu Mengmeng's waist with the other to pull her into his arms. He smiled helplessly and said, "Do you think I will snatch your food?" Gu Mengmeng shook her head and pursed her lips without saying a word. Elvis said again, "Then what are you hesitating for? Hurry and eat." Gu Mengmeng still shook her head and passed the bowl with shui ling fruits to Elvis again. "We are husband and wife. We should share blessings and misfortunes together. It doesn't make sense for me to be the only one eating delicious food and you to face danger alone." Elvis knew that Gu Mengmeng was still upset over the fact that he had hidden her away to fight the stray beasts alone. These few days, she had been blaming herself for being so useless. How could she be so useless when faced with danger and be unable to do anything other than watch from the sidelines? Elvis didn't know what it meant to be a weakling, but he knew that it couldn't be anything good. So, in order to appease her, he promised to bring her along to do survival training with the baby after she gave birth. Only then did she feel slightly better about it, but she still couldn't let it go completely. Every time he saw Gu Mengmeng distressed over this matter, Elvis felt that he had been too kind to let those stray beasts leave. If he could turn back time, he would definitely make them regret coming to Saint Nazaire. No, he would make them regret being born into this world. But now, Elvis's priority was to comfort Gu Mengmeng. Exchanging a look with Leah walked forward and sat sideways in front of Gu Mengmeng. He pointed at the bowl with more food and asked, "This is mine?" Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, "Yes, you worked so hard outside for 3 days to find it, you have to have a taste no matter what. Don't worry, I didn't eat any of yours, not even a single one." But Leah flipped over and laid sideways on the edge of the bed. He used his elbow to support his chin and said, "But I had already eaten a lot when I was plucking them. Now that I think about it, I can still feel the acid in my mouth. I don't want to eat anymore." Aside from the topic, today was the first time I deleted a reader's comment. To be honest, I felt a little down. Actually, you have the right to not like my novel and you also have the right to not read it. But you really don't have to say such harsh words. Authors are also human and can be hurt. If you feel that my novel can't attract you, can't you turn around gracefully and give each other some face and part on good terms? What else can you gain by saying such harsh words in the comments section other than making yourself look like a person with no morals? I don't know if you will see this comment, but I still want to say it. Whatever my babies say, I'll take it seriously. Chapter 289. Gu Mengmeng's eyes lit up. The smile that came from the bottom of her heart was a joy that even an amazing actor could not act out. Her little hands secretly reached towards Li's bowl and stopped before touching it. She looked at Leah and asked, "You really don't want to eat?" Leah nodded his head nonchalantly. Then, he gently pushed the small bowl into Gu Mengmeng's hands and said, "Here, it's all for you. Eat it." Gu Mengmeng smiled brightly. She held the small bowl in her arms so tightly that only her teeth could be seen. She said sincerely, "Leah, thank you." Leah smiled and nodded without saying a word. After waiting for 2 days and 2 nights for the Xueling fruits to ripen, the cold wind that was as sharp as a knife felt as painful as being cut by a knife. After enduring for 2 days and nights, he only managed to pluck such a small bunch. But it was enough to see Gu Mengmeng eating so happily and smiling so blissfully. Elvis frowned and asked, "This is sour?" Gu Mengmeng placed a Xueling fruit into her mouth. Then, she nodded at Elvis with a blissful face as a reply. Elvis, on the other hand, poured the Xueling fruit in his bowl into Gu Mengmeng's bowl with a look of disdain. He said, "I am a wolf. I only eat meat and not grass. Especially not this kind of grass that is so sour that even my teeth become soft. It's all for you. Eat it." Happiness came too suddenly. Gu Mengmeng felt a blow from happiness. By her life was complete. Gu Mengmeng ate the Xueling fruit that was split into 3 in satisfaction. She was so happy that she rolled around on the bed. Elvis and Leah looked at each other and smiled. What in this world was more precious than Gu Mengmeng's smiling face? "My queen, don't you feel sour after eating so many sour fruits?" Elvis placed the fish and potato stew in front of Gu Mengmeng, hoping that she would take a bite. But Gu Mengmeng suddenly covered her nose and said, "Quick! Take it away. I'm going to vomit." Gu Mengmeng's heart ached for the Xueling fruit. She endured the burning sensation in her throat and refused to spit it out. Elvis hurriedly took the fish away. When he came back, there was only clean water in the bowl. He was prepared to let Gu Mengmeng rinse her mouth. Gu Mengmeng calmed herself down. She laid on the bed lazily and said, "Every day, potato stew and fish stew. I want to vomit just by hearing potatoes and fish." Compared to the past years, their food this year was actually more sumptuous. But to Gu Mengmeng of the food. But Leah replied with a smile, "Being able to do something for Mengmeng is the first time I'm thankful for my snow fox bloodline." With that, Leah turned to look at Gu Mengmeng and asked gently, like a kindergarten teacher coaxing a child who was unwilling to eat, "Mengmeng, tell me, what do you want to eat? I'll help you find it." Gu Mengmeng thought to herself, "I want to eat dompa pork, hot and sour noodles, sesame paste noodles and mutton buns." "Let me tell you, where are you going to find them?" Sighing, Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "Forget it. In this world of ice and snow, there is definitely nothing I want to eat. Even if there is, it would be frozen and I can't eat it." Chapter 290. Upon hearing that, Gu Mengmeng was instantly energized. She knew that there were many seasonings now used for cooking that were used as herbs in the past. She could name them like pepper, star anise, fennel, cinnamon, tangerine peel, 1,000 miles fragrant. Slapping her forehead, Gu Mengmeng said, "Sigh, why didn't I think of that? Quick, 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 bring it to me." Leah looked at Gu Mengmeng's energetic look and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he opened up the beast's skin that contained the herbs and placed it in front of Gu Mengmeng. When he came out of his cave, he was in a hurry. At that time, he didn't have the mood to organize these things, so when he opened the package, many medicinal herbs were mixed together. Even Leah had to spend some time to differentiate the species, let alone Gu Mengmeng being able to tell anything at a glance. Leah laid beside Gu Mengmeng and slowly picked up the herbs one by one to identify them before placing them separately. Gu Mengmeng was not interested in those that she could not name. She just quickly searched through the pile of herbs for something that she could recognize. Sometimes, happiness came so unexpectedly. Ah! Gu Mengmeng took out a fiery red rhizome from the pile of herbs and held it with both hands, looking at it as if it was a rare treasure. She was so shocked that she could not even speak. But Leah snatched the fiery red herb from Gu Mengmeng's hands and said with a serious face, "I can't do this, it's too dangerous." Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and looked at Leah. "What's so dangerous about chili? Do the chilies here fart or something?" Leah placed the chili behind him, as if he was afraid that Gu Mengmeng would suddenly pounce over and snatch it away. He said, "This flame crystal fruit is used to attack the enemy. It's a magical weapon that can take them by surprise and win with one move. It's really dangerous. Don't play with this, okay? Attack type." Gu Mengmeng smiled evilly. "Don't tell me you want to grind this into powder and scatter it on the enemy's face?" Leah was stunned. How did you know?" Gu Mengmeng slapped her thighs and laughed maniacally. "Ha ha ha, not only do I know, I also know that this move is called eye stinging." "Wicked, Leah, you're too wicked." Leah and Elvis could not continue the conversation as they looked at each other and waited for her to finish laughing. Gu Mengmeng was finally tired of laughing. She opened her palms and said, "I'm better at this than you. Hand it over quickly, don't make me snatch it away." Leah hesitated because he had once accidentally gotten some in his eyes. That feeling was really unbearable. At that time, he thought that his eyes were going to be crippled. He really did not want Gu Mengmeng to touch such a dangerous thing. Gu Mengmeng was getting impatient. She clicked her tongue and used her elbow to poke Elvis. "Hubby." Elvis looked at Leah helplessly and said, "Give it to her." But Leah frowned and met Elvis's eyes with his hands still behind his back. Elvis did not let Leah finish his sentence and directly said, "Xiao Meng is the head of the household, you all have to listen to her." Leah was stunned. He looked into Elvis's eyes and could not say a word. So, Elvis meant that he acknowledged him, as a member of Mengmeng's family? Elvis ignored the change in Lee's expression and repeated, "Give it to her." Chapter 291. Gu Mengmeng took over the chili and brought it to her mouth right in front of Elvis and Leah. She took a bite and started chewing with a crunching sound. Elvis and Lee's faces were filled with shock, giving Gu Mengmeng a strange sense of accomplishment. The two males were so shocked that they could not say a word. They could only watch as Gu Mengmeng swallowed the chili directly into her stomach. She took a sip of water from the bedside and sighed in satisfaction. "Feels good." Elvis took over Gu Mengmeng's cup and filled it up for her. Then, he asked worriedly, "Are you all right? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Let Leah take a look at you." Gu Mengmeng smacked her lips and said, "If I'm uncomfortable, it's not satisfying enough. Leah, do you have any more chili? Give me a few more." Leah saw that Gu Mengmeng's expression did not look like she was pretending. Then, he thought that if Gu Mengmeng did not use the yellow root to cook, he would never have thought that the herb used to expel the cold could also be a condiment. No longer doubting Gu Mengmeng's thoughts, Leah rummaged through the pile of herbs and found 7 to 8 chili to pass to Gu Mengmeng, saying, "I did not prepare a lot of these offensive herbs, because if I use too much, others will be on guard. So, I will only use them to win when Elvis and I can't defend against them even if we work together. I only have this much, is it enough?" Gu Mengmeng frowned and sighed deeply, saying, "It's a little, but it's enough to eat a meal of fish in hot chili oil." Leah remained silent for a moment, saying, "There are a lot of these during the rainy season. No one wants them if they rot on the ground. If you like them, I can pick them up for you next year." Gu Mengmeng nodded and then shook her head, saying, "I'm not going out to pick them up, it's too troublesome." Leah tilted his head and looked at Gu Mengmeng. Just when he wanted to say that he was not afraid of trouble, Gu Mengmeng cut open the chili and took out the seeds inside, saying, bring a small bowl over and put this in. I will plant some during the rainy season next year, it's more convenient to eat. Plant. Leah was confused. Yeah, don't tell me that no one farms here. Leah and Elvis shook their heads honestly. Gu Mengmeng's lips twitched, asking, so, you only eat meat? You won't eat anything else? Leah replied, females would occasionally want to eat some fruits while males mostly eat meat. There are also a small number of herbivorous orcs, but they are independent tribes and usually don't mix with us. Gu Mengmeng rolled her eyes as she thought to herself. Her knowledge of farming was limited to the theories in books, and she had only tried it once. For the convenience of making facial masks, she planted a huge pot of aloe vera. But the problem was that aloe vera was a small seedling dug from someone else's house, and could grow just by sticking it into the soil. Chili pepper, it should be about the same, right? Gu Mengmeng had wanted to count on the experienced people here to teach her, but it seemed like there was no hope now. She could only explore by herself, so she looked at Leah and said, to be on the safe side, bring me to the place where you found these chilies during the rainy season next year. I will bring 2 mature ones back. Then use the seeds and plant some yourself. Let's see which one bears fruit. But Leah was at a loss. There are many of these things in the mountains and they grow every year. I can go and pluck them for you when you want them. Why go through so much trouble? You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.